Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sequel Maharan share. My name is Effie Sussman, and tonight we're going to be doing Sequel 68. So this year is on a very special topic of Hisbodedus, of talking to Hashem in your own words. So Rebbe Nachman once said of himself that his whole inyan was Hisbodedus. He says this is what he came to teach the world. Obviously he knew he didn't invent Hisbodedus. We know that our Avos did it and David HaMelech did it, but he was really trying to bring back the lost art of it and to teach it to his generation and the future generations. So let's dive in. I'm going to pull up the share screen. Okay, here we go, 68. The Rebbe often spoke to us about conversing with God. Speak to God so as to focus on your purpose in life. Have pity on yourself and beg God to help you find him. Use whatever language you speak best and argue with God, petitioning him in every way. All these thoughts are brought in the Rebbe's published works. But beyond this, he would frequently discuss the most important concept. If you set aside a time each day, at least an hour, to converse with God, you will surely be worthy of drawing close to him. You may do this for days and years, apparently without effect, but in the end, it will help you reach your goal. The Rebbe said that this is how King David conceived the book of Psalms in Lekutey Maharan. He said this. He also said that the main time King David secluded himself with God was at night, under his covers in bed, hidden from the sight of all others. He would pour out his heart before God. This is the meaning of the verse I speak every night on my bed in tears, from Tehillim above. Happy is he who follows this practice, for it is above all else. He tells us to look carefully and read what is written in Lekutey Maharan, second one, 95 to 100. Follow what is written there, and you will be worthy of truly expressing your thoughts to God. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share screen. Just to recap it a little bit. So Rebbe Nachman's telling us we need to dedicate time each day to speak to Hashem in our own words. Through doing Hisbodedus, we focus on what's important in life. Rebbe Nachman says that this is the time that we should beg Hashem to come close to him, to fulfill our divine mission, to live to our fullest potentials, right? Like, this is the time through Hisbodedus. Focus on what matters and beg and plead to come close to Hashem. Rebbe Nachman tells us that in the way, this is the way to reach Hashem. This is the way to do it. He gives us chizuk that if we keep at it, even if it feels like for years we were doing it and weren't getting anywhere, this is the way. Eventually, we're going to break through. He also tells us he ends about telling us about David HaMelech, who wrote all of Tehillim. And he says that David HaMelech would seclude himself at night under his covers, and he would just find time to write all of Tehillim. So, Hisbodedus at its best. Okay, so, I'll be the first to admit Hisbodedus is hard, but as we can see, the rewards are very, very great. It always, whenever I read about Hisbodedus and when I do Hisbodedus, I always feel like it's really like a shortcut to being, a tzaddik or tzaddikess. It's just like bypass everything and get there. Just think about it. There's just no way that if a person does this every day and thinks about their actions every day and thinks about their goals every day, that they won't get to where they want to be in life. Rebbe Nachman is telling us, take time every day to ponder what you want out of life. A person needs to have a clear goal before building what they desire. Or else, you could just build something and it's not really what you wanted in the first place. I've said this mashal before. I've heard it from Stephen Covey, but I think it's just worth repeating. He gives this example about a person who's climbing a ladder. And he finally gets to the top rung of the ladder and he sees, and he's all happy. He's at the top rung. He made it to the top. But then he sees like this ladder, it's not even on the wall that he wanted it to be on. It's on the wrong wall. It's just, I think this happens to many of us without realizing. We try to build up certain things in our life that are important to us, but there's so many different things that pull us, so many opportunities or distractions, and before we know it, we're on the wrong wall. Even like, let's say, for example, we set out in life and we want to, our goal is to be an amazing mother. Every time we talk to our kids, to speak to them calmly and nicely and teach them what's good, what's bad, in like in a beautiful way, bonds with our kids, but then, life happens, we get a good job opportunity, we get this, maybe, God forbid, we even get, some problems that come into our lives, and we might persevere and get through everything, but before we know it, we're on the wrong wall. Like, we're not where we wanted to be originally. That's an extreme example, but I think it happens to many of us at times. Hopefully we get back, to where we want to be. But it's just, again, like, if we just sit there thinking what we want to focus on in life, it takes us very far. So, again, it's just such a lesson for us in this generation specifically. I think we all know how easily distractible we are and how we have thousands of things that are pulling at us and, can and will keep us busy all day, even if we don't want to be busy with it. Just think about like your promotion emails in your inbox, right? There's so many things that can keep us completely unfocused on what really matters. But by doing Hisbodedus, by having some quiet in your day, where you do this deep, deep introspection and even ask for help ask Hashem for help for finding your place in the world and finding your mission in the world. Like, again, like it can't not have an effect. It just can't. So, so there are many pieces. As we said, this was Rebbe Nachman's whole Inyan, right? So there are many pieces from Rebbe Nachman that he speaks about Hisbodedus and Tefillah, and Baruch Hashem, we went through a few of them in this year, but one very special Torah is in Lekutey Maharan 52. We're just going to do a small piece of it, but it's just, this piece is beautiful because Rebbe Nachman is going to teach us a few tactics about Hisbodedus, and through it, we're also going to learn like this beautiful lesson in humility. So, okay, sorry, just silencing my phone. Okay, so here we go. See, plenty of distractions. Okay, I'm going to share screen. Okay, 52. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the Kitzur Lekutey Maharan. This is the abridged Lekutey Maharan that I'm reading from. And again, it's Torah number 52. Okay, so every person must see to it that he is included in his source. And the way to do this is by self-nullification. So every person has to be a part of our Maker, a part of Hashem. Like, our soul needs to be connected to him. And the way to do this is by self-nullification, by making ourselves smaller, by making ourselves more humble. And the only way to attain this self-nullification is through Hisbodedus, secluded personal prayer. By expressing himself before God in Hisbodedus, a person can nullify everything. He can cleave to God and be included in his source. So by doing Hisbodedus every day, a person is able to nullify themselves, make themselves more humble, make themselves less in order to be included with Hashem. Basically making ourselves less and making more room for Hashem to come in. Okay, 2. The ideal time for Hisbodedus is at night, when everyone is sleeping, and the ideal place is outside of town, where one can walk on a secluded path. In other words, a place where no one walks even during the day. By engaging in Hisbodedus in this way at night on a secluded path, a person clears his heart and his mind of all matters pertaining to this world, and he nullifies everything. until he nullifies himself completely. So Rebbe Nachman tells us the ideal time, the ideal way to do Hisbodedus would be at night, when everyone's asleep, when the world is quiet, and a person should go on a secluded path, a place that people don't generally walk by themselves at night. And through that, a person could clear their mind and their heart and slowly begin to nullify different parts of themselves. By the way, I don't recommend this for women at night, just saying. Okay. But obviously everyone should use their own judgment. Okay, so a person clears his heart and mind of all matters pertaining to this world, and he nullifies everything until he nullifies himself completely. First, he prays a great deal until he nullifies one negative character trait or behavior pattern. And after that, he nullifies another negative character trait. He continues on in this way until he nullifies himself completely and has no pride or substantiality at all, and until he views himself as literally nothing, and he merits to attain a state of true self-nullification. Through this, the entire world is included with him in its source, or in other words, everything is included with him in God's unity. So through doing this and through nullifying himself piece by piece, he is included with the source, with Hashem. He's a part of him. Just gonna stop the share for a second, and I'm gonna just want to further recap. So it's saying that every person in the whole world needs to be connected, needs to be included with their root, with their source, with the creator. And in order to be connected with Hashem, we need to make less room for ourselves and more room for Hashem. It's right? Like if we're filled with our own egos, then there's no place for Hashem to fill us. There's no room for Hashem to enter. You know, like it's not a coincidence that Moshe Rabbeinu had the highest level of Nevuah and also was the most humble man that ever lived. It's hand in hand. It goes together. So Rebbe Nachman tells us there's no way to get to this level of humility that we need unless we do Hisbodedus. That's the way to get there. So through walking by yourself at night in a secluded path, a person sees what's important. You know, like you could just imagine, I just love this because you could just like imagine this scene of just such quiet and peacefulness. And like slowly you're like letting go of all the physicality in your mind, and slowly you're letting go of all the physicality in your heart. And you're just, again, like getting closer to what's important. And Rebbe Nachman saying through that, you slowly begin to nullify one negative character trait after another. And Rebbe Nachman recommended only focusing on one thing at a time. You know, not working on 100 different things at once, just one thing at a time. So by doing this, by slowly nullifying each negative trait, you connect to the source. So again, I just think this piece is so beautiful and inspiring because it just draws out what it's supposed to look like and what we're meant to accomplish, and to really just go to this quiet place and call out to Hashem there. I just want to mention that many authorities in Breslov, you know, they don't say that you need to go to this secluded place in order to do Hisbodedus. I heard many people say you can do it anywhere. You can do it in your bed at night, just like Rebbe Nachman said with David HaMelech, right? So, you know, anywhere, anytime, any place. And of course, we could perfect it more and more as we do it. But just getting into the habit of it, it's a big, big thing. So another Torah that I wanted to bring in, that brings us to this point of really diving into Hashem to become a better person through Hisbodedus, is in Torah number 30, Lekutey Maharan, the second Lekutey Maharan, Torah number 31. You know what? I think it's actually the first. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's in the first Lekutey Maharan, but again, we're going to be doing the Kitzur. So I'm just going to pull up the share screen again. Okay. So we're doing a piece of Torah number 31. We're going to this 16. Okay. So this explains the enormous benefit of conversing with one's creator. Specifically, a person must express himself and speak to his creator, and he must articulate his good yearnings in speech. He must tell God how he longs to abandon the evil in which he is involved in, and how he yearns to come to true good. So Rebbe Nachman saying, pray to Hashem with what you want to, with your strengths and your weaknesses, what you want to work on, what you like about yourself. And how he yearns to, and you're yearning to come close to Hashem. You must also pray to God about this so that God will take pity on him and fulfill his good desires. And he must speak candidly about this, namely about everything he lacks in his service of God, which he desires and longs to have God accomplish for him. Through this practice, a person merits to attain the things that he seeks and to achieve what he must. He brings good to the world, draws favor and blessing into all the spiritual worlds, and arouses many souls to return to God. Each person must accustom himself to engage in this conversation with his creator a great deal each day. This practice is extremely precious indeed, and through it is possible to bring the entire world back to God. Oh, Rebbe Nachman says very powerful things in this piece. To just recap it, Rebbe Nachman tells us it's not enough to think I need to work on this or I need to do this in order to accomplish this. He's telling us speak it out, talk it out loud to Hashem. Speak out what you're failing in. Speak out what you hope to succeed in. And through this, Rebbe Nachman is saying you bring huge tikkunim to the world, huge rectifications, and bring other people to come closer to Hashem. It's like such an amazing thing because it's just different than, I guess it's just different than what we would think, like he's saying like speak honestly. I think he says it in a part here, like speak candidly, just speak truth about what you want to work on and what you need to work on. In other places, Rebbe Nachman mentioned that prayer is the main weapon of Mashiach, that there are major tikkunim and fixings that happen in the world all through prayer. So I know we're talking about very lofty levels in Hisbodedus right now, but in practicality, we're supposed to talk to Hashem like a friend. We're supposed to just let conversation flow, mention anything and everything that is hard for us, that's good for us. If it's hard for you to talk to Hashem, mention that too. If you're having a hard time with Hisbodedus, say, Hashem, help me with Hisbodedus. Nothing's excluded. Nothing's too big or small or too petty for Hashem. Everything is in his realm. He's begging us, he's wanting us to have this very deep relationship with him, a close relationship with him. It's an amazing thing. So I know, again, like people find it hard to do Hisbodedus, and I actually heard a good eitzah from Rav Moshe Weinberger. He's actually in the middle of a Hisbodedus shir right now, which I recommend, Hisbodedus series. He says, like, just start talking to Hashem throughout the day. Bring him into your life regularly, and then it will make the Hisbodedus time of day a lot easier. I guess it's just the more you see him in your everyday, the more, at set time, like the more you talk to him at set times and sporadic times throughout the day, the more we bring Hashem into our lives, the more we internalize that there's someone there, that there's someone that's actually listening to us. I think that's such like a huge point because imagine what life would be like if we really knew that Hashem was sitting there listening, chalishing for our prayers. I think like it would just be a huge game changer. I think the fact is that many of us all the time or sometimes don't really think he's listening. Even if we know it intellectually, it's very hard to internalize it. But again, not only is he listening, he's desperately waiting for our prayers and for our connection to him. If you think that it's wild as that sounds. So I just give us each all a bracha that when we dive in, we should know in a very real way who is listening, and that our tefillos should bring these huge tikkunim to the world, and Mir Hashem should bring Mashiach very soon. So thank you everybody for listening, and have a wonderful night.